Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and find the essential knowledge you need. Today, we are diving deep into the massive, multifaceted, and, well, ancient world of Hinduism. We're going to unpack the sources that chronicle its origins and its core philosophical concepts. Brahman, Atman, karma, all the way up to its modern global footprint.
Yeah, our source material is incredibly rich. It covers foundational texts, modern sociology, pretty much everything. But our mission today is to move from a single extraordinary event, a local incident that really captured global media attention, to understanding the philosophical roots that make this faith so unique and, frankly, resilient.
Right. So we're tracing the line from a, quote, miracle witnessed in a Canadian temple all the way to the cosmic concepts that inform Hindu life. And that includes the influence of figures like Gandhi and even the vibrancy of modern Toronto. You are about to get the shortcut to understanding one of the world's oldest living religions. Let's unpack this. Okay, so we begin in 1995. There was this stunning report that just spread like wildfire. Thousands flocked to two Hindu temples in the Greater Toronto area, the Vishnu Mandir and the Vaishno Devi Mandir. Why? To witness a marble statue of Sri Ganesha, the remover of all obstacles, apparently, drinking milk.
It was quite something, an incredible sight reported globally. Devotees would offer milk in a spoon to the statue, right? And the milk would just visibly vanish. It looked like it was being absorbed through the marble, especially around the tusks and trunk of the elephant-headed deity. And this immediately sparked a huge public debate, as you can imagine.
Right. You had the scientific counter-argument pop up almost instantly. Simple capillary action, the marble absorbing the liquid, standard physics. But then you had the fervent spiritual belief. This was a true divine revelation, a miracle in stone. What's fascinating is how our source actually frames this debate.
Exactly. The source notes that while trying to find a purely scientific rationalization for a miracle is sort of contradictory, because a true miracle is supposed to confound science and baffle the mind. It even questioned the physical saturation limits, like how much milk can stone actually absorb if this goes on for hours and hours?
But this contradiction, this tension between the scientific view and the miraculous view, it actually sets the perfect stage for understanding a core characteristic of Hinduism, which is its complex, really singular view of the divine.
You've hit on the key point there. Hinduism can look polytheistic, with its millions of gods. Or it can seem monotheistic, like believing in a single god.
Yeah.
But most accurately, it's described as monistic. The early Vedic sages, they didn't see individual deities like fire or dawn or thunder as totally separate entities. They saw them as facets.
Aspects of the same single reality. And that ultimate supreme being, the entity without form or quality, that's Brahman.
Yes, Brahman is the universal soul. The essence of everything, everywhere.
Yeah.
It's invisible, unlimited, ultimately indescribable. So, connecting back to that Toronto miracle, if Ganesh is just one manifestation, one form of the limitless Brahman, then the distinction between a scientific world and a spiritual world kind of devolves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All matter and all spirit are fundamentally the same underlying universal essence.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So the same fundamental stuff that governs capillary action is also the stuff the divine is made of. No inherent conflict. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for me. If Brahman is the universal soul, the big picture, how does that relate to us, to the individual person?
This is the revolutionary heart of the philosophy. The human soul or spirit is called Atman, and it is considered identical to Brahman, not just a part of the divine. It is the divine.
Wow. So that famous Sanskrit phrase, tat tvam asi, you are that, it's not just poetry, it's a statement of fact. The core of my identity, my Atman, is the same fundamental essence as the entire cosmos. That's a huge conceptual leap from, say, typical Western thought, which generally keeps a clear separation between humanity and God.
It is a profound difference. And because the Atman is eternal and immortal, when the physical body dies, the Atman lives on. It inhabits a new one. And this leads us immediately to the cycle of existence.
Okay, so the cycle. But the ultimate goal, then, must be to get off that cycle, right? That goal is moksha, liberation.
Correct. Moksha is the release. It's freedom from that endless cycle of rebirth or reincarnation, which is known as samsara. The Atman finally achieves union with Brahman. It goes home, so to speak.
But wait, if we're all Brahman already, why are we trapped in this cycle in the first place? Why do we feel like separate beings experiencing the world?
That's because we are perceiving the universe through Maya. Our sources describe the physical world we live in as temporary, ever-changing, imperfect. It's fundamentally illusory. Think of Maya like a really vivid, compelling dream. While you're in the dream, it feels absolutely real. The joy, the pain, the urgency, all of it. But when you wake up, when you achieve moksha, you realize it was all an illusion, a projection.
That's a powerful analogy. Okay. And if samsara is the cycle, what's driving the wheel? What determines where my Atman ends up in the next life? Is it random?
Not at all. That's karma. Karma is the engine of samsara. It's the totality of one's actions, thoughts, and deeds in life. It functions like a cosmic or maybe spiritual law of cause and effect. Good karma results in rebirth at a higher station, closer to salvation. Bad karma, well, that leads to a lower station or maybe even a lower form of life.
Okay, so there's this constant pressure then to generate good karma and ultimately break the cycle. How do Hindus actually pursue moksha? Are there fixed methods or like paths?
There are indeed 4 recognized paths, or yogas, each tailored to different personality types, which is another great example of Hinduism's adaptability. It's inclusiveness.
Right. So one of the most accessible paths, I imagine, is bhakti yoga. That's devotion and love toward a personal deity.
Exactly. And that path is highly visual, often very emotional. Worshipping representations of Shiva, Vishnu, or Lakshmi helps followers focus their intense devotion. Contrast that with karma yoga, which is the path of action.
Karma yoga,
Right.
that focuses on good deeds and unselfish thoughts, right? It emphasizes doing actions out of pure duty without any expectation of reward, which honestly sounds much harder than it sounds easy.
It is demanding, yes. Then there's jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. This one's considered quite difficult. It isn't just about book learning. It requires deep intellectual discipline, often guided by a guru, a teacher. The aim is to gain the necessary insight to fully understand that Brahman-Atman relationship on an experiential level.
And finally, Raja Yoga. That's the path of meditation.
Yes, deep contemplation on Brahman. Raja Yoga requires strict physical and spiritual discipline to reach a kind of trance-like state where the person temporarily merges, becomes one with the truth.
So 4 distinct paths. It really shows that liberation isn't just for one type of person.
Precisely. There's a way for the emotional devotee, the selfless worker, the intellectual scholar, and the spiritual ascetic.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Moving from the individual pursuit of salvation to society. How does an ancient religion like this impose structure on daily life? Provide a framework for actually generating good karma within society? That structure you mentioned is based on dharma. So what does this essential concept really entail?
Dharma. Fundamentally, it translates to a code of moral and righteous duty. It's considered absolutely essential for the welfare of the individual, the family, and society as a whole. It provides the behavioral framework, the right way to live.
And our sources draw a clear line between 2 types of dharma. There's Sanatana Dharma.
Right, which encompasses universal values that apply to everyone. Things like compassion, honesty, absence of cruelty, basic human goodness, you could say.
Okay. And then there's Varnashrama Dharma. This sounds more specific.
It is. These are the specific duties based on an individual's age, sex, and crucially, their status or class in society. This is the concept that historically underpinned the traditional social organization in India, the caste system.
The caste system, right.
Yeah.
Dividing society into 4 main classes, or varnas. And placement, traditionally, was believed to be determined by the karma accumulated in previous lives.
Exactly. The highest are the Brahmins, priests, teachers, followed by the Kshatriyas, the warriors, rulers, then the Vaishyas, merchants, farmers, and finally the Sudras, servants, laborers. This structure meant that historically, individuals lived extremely different lives based purely on the station they were born into, with very limited social mixing between castes. And we also have to acknowledge the group that existed outside these 4 main castes, the untouchables, now known as Jalits, who performed occupations considered unclean.
Yeah, it's crucial, though, to remember that while this traditional structure has deep historical roots, India's Charter of Rights today legally bans discrimination based on caste. It reflects the ongoing social evolution.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to daily practice, worship itself is actually quite non-dogmatic, non-standardized. A lot of it takes place at home shrines. These are often adorned with images, murtis of specific deities, which help the worshiper focus their concentration on the underlying Brahman.
And the most common form of home worship is called puja.
Yes, puja. It's a beautiful Thanksgiving ritual. It involves offerings, maybe flowers, milk, ghee, clarified butter, lighting a lamp.
And that ritual concludes with arati, the waving of the lamp.
And what makes this so tangible and communal is the tradition of prasad. The food that was offered to the deities, now considered blessed, is then redistributed and eaten by the devotees. It's a wonderful way of making an abstract concept, divine blessing, very concrete and shared.
That is lovely. And linking back to the very foundation, the sound of the universe itself, we can't forget Om.
Ah, yes. the sacred syllable Om. It's chanted at the beginning and end of pretty much all prayers and meditation. It's considered the primordial sound. It symbolizes the first three Vedas, the three states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Chanting Om is believed to invoke the supreme essence of Brahman itself, directly linking the physical act of chanting to the universal spirit.
Now, the philosophy of Hinduism isn't just a guide for private devotion or ancient rituals. It profoundly shaped the modern world, didn't it? Through figures like Mahatma Gandhi. He lived from 1869 to 1948, but his actions still reverberate globally.
Absolutely. Gandhi was fundamentally guided by the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, often called the Hindu Bible. His entire political strategy was built on core spiritual concepts: dharma, duty, satya, truth, and especially the concept of ahimsa, nonviolence.
He took ahimsa and crafted the strategy of nonviolent resistance, satyagraha, to oppose British rule in India. And he also fiercely fought against social injustice within India, particularly the terrible discrimination faced by the Dalits. He successfully transformed these ancient spiritual duties into potent political weapons that inspired movements literally all over the world.
It's a powerful legacy. And today, Hinduism is globally spread. That's largely due to migration patterns following European colonialism back in the 19th century. We see major Hindu populations across the globe now, and its cultural impact is just undeniable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just look at the disciplines of yoga and meditation. They originated squarely in Hindu tradition, but these practices are now immensely popular worldwide. Though, Western interpretations sometimes focus maybe more on the physical fitness aspect than the original spiritual discipline aimed at union with Brahman.
That's true. There's often a difference in emphasis.
Yeah.
And focusing back on Canada, the Hindu population here exceeds 300,000 people.
Yep.
And the vast majority live right here in the Greater Toronto area. It's a wonderfully diverse community, too, representing origins from India, Sri Lanka, Trinidad, East Africa, all over.
And that diversity is fueling some significant growth and investment. You mentioned the Swaminarayan organization in Toronto. They're building the largest Hindu temple and cultural center in Canada. It stands on, 2 hectares? It's not just a place of worship, is it?
No, not at all. It's a full cultural complex. It includes a museum devoted to Hinduism, a community center that hosts charitable events, educational seminars, cultural activities too, like classical music and dance performances. It really embodies the modern Hindu focus on community service alongside that intense spirituality. What's truly fascinating here, when you step back, is Hinduism's enduring strength, its resilience. Unlike religions founded by a single prophet or based on one specific dogma, its strength seems to come from its incredible ability to absorb and assimilate diverse customs and ideas over literally thousands of years. The result is this multitude of sects and traditions that somehow all share that fundamental unity of the universal spirit of Brahman.
Yeah. We began this deep dive with a supposed miracle in Toronto that seemed to simultaneously challenge and maybe validate the idea of a science-defying spiritual world. And we learned that the ultimate goal in this faith isn't just belief, it's experience. Achieving liberation, moksha, by uniting your individual soul, your Atman, with the universal soul, Brahman. So we established that your actions, your karma, determine your fate across the cycle of rebirth, samsara. Now, for our final thought. Consider that concept of varnashrama dharma, the specific duty expected of you based on your current station in life. In your complex, modern life today, where duties to work, family, self, and community are constantly pulling you in different directions, which specific dharma should you prioritize right now to generate the best karma? And maybe more importantly, why is that choice often so complicated?